Good morning, tubers. Welcome back for another adventure. And what you're looking at is one of these 1,000-watt two-cycle generators. You used to buy these at Harbor Freight. They would be on the Christmas special, Father's Day special, whatever special, and you would get them for like 80 bucks, $79.95. Not the case anymore. If you could find them on eBay, the cheapest ones are about $130. It seems that people have worked their way up to 200 bucks. I don't know if they're not producing them anymore or what the story is, but they're not as easily available as they used to be. So the story on this one is I bought it at the garage sale at Stormville. She wanted 10, I gave her 5, and she knew nothing about it. I said, does it start? Does it run? Does it not produce power? What's the story on it? And she knew nothing. The reason why I bought it is I have another $10 Wonder that produces power and so forth, but this whole area is like loose on it. And given that this is a two-cycle motor, you really do not want to run it without an air cleaner. It'll run too lean and it will destroy itself. Should you find one of these things on the side of the road or a flea market for $5, or you could get it really cheap, it runs, it works. I've seen videos on YouTube where people run small air conditioners, you know, the 5,000 BTU air conditioners, and I think it's better if you use the old-fashioned kind, you know, the one with the bi-metallic twist type thing for setting the temperature, rather than an electronic, you know, digital display, you know, with the up and down arrows. I think it would work better with that. And you also want to set it as cold as possible so the compressor isn't cycling on and off. When a compressor cycles on and off, it takes crazy power. So it's better if you do it that way. But anyhow, there's all kinds of testimonials about it, how these things have saved people's lives and sanity and all. So if you can find one cheap, they're not a bad item to have floating around. So the place you always start with these things, is there any compression? Answer's yes. So that's the first step in the right direction. Next thing to look at is the gas tank. If it's all rotted out and so forth, unless you're buying the unit for parts and getting it cheap, you kind of want to walk away. They do sell gas tanks on eBay for like 25 bucks, but you got a $100 item here or a $150 item. How much money do you want to put in it? If you look there, and you could kind of see those globs, there is water in this gas tank. So maybe I'm just going to get away with the carburetor rebuild. I want to take the spark plug off, and it appears as if we have a problem here, Houston. So one of the first things I got to do is fix that. Then I'm going to check to see what the plug looks like and see if we have spark. I'll show you how to fix this. Before you take out your knives or anything and start putting it to this, we appear to have plenty of wire, so I should be able to trim this back and get that clip and all back on there and do good things. I'll show you how. First thing you want to do is trim some of the insulation back on the wire, just so that you make sure that you get a good, you can kind of smash the end of the bare wire up against that clip to make sure you're not looking at my head. So gently cut around that, then you can kind of peel it out of the way, and that'll give you, once again, that'll give you good connection. The better spark you have, especially with these two cycles, the better they run, the easier it is to start them, right? Less possibility of fouling the plug, right? So we got some bare wire there. So we have some wire here exposed, and you got a slip right? You got to harpoon that in there. So be careful, because you will put the sharp end right into your finger. Okay, got one side in, right? Slide it up, get the other side, and you got to harpoon that in. I think you guys could see that. Are you going to get it perfect? Let me answer that for you. Probably not. Are you going to harpoon your finger? Probably. Yeah, you guys could see it's fighting me. Come on, go in. There we got it. There we are. And then with this extra wire, I'm just going to kind of wrap it around there to make sure that I have a really good connection. Okay, I think I'm all good. You can see the wire wrapped around. Now I just have to kind of slide the boot back in. Right, get everything back where you want it. Okay, so that should be fixed as good as new. Let's see if we have spark. Let's see if we managed to get the spark. Hopefully you guys saw that. Put the plug back in and keeps junk from getting in there. Anyway, 4 bolts to get the gas tank off. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you just got to slip this hose here and the gas tank comes right up. Could it be easier than that? So we're cleaning out the carburetor, and I think you guys could see that that filter is pretty nasty. So we'll blast all this clean with the with some carburetor cleaner, get this cleaned up, right? Rinse the tank out. Don't spill stuff on the ground, right? I'm just going to put it in there and then burn it. So yeah, that'll get things cleaned up. The gas tank is cleaned up and ready to go. So now it's time for the carburetor. To get the carburetor off, get the cover, this cover off. Not hard, right? Let's take these 2 out. I know I'm gonna end up having to pick this up off the ground. So you get this cover off, and beneath this cover you will see an air filter. By the way, you can buy the foam air filters, cost $5, delivered on eBay. Probably just a piece of junky foam, right? That's the air filter. Make sure it's on there, make sure it's clean, and ready to go. So to get this cover off, that and this, and it pops right off. Be careful with the wires. Don't pull on the wires, you'll break things. The bolts that hold this cover on also hold the carburetor to the intake manifold. So once again, as you slide these out, you can see the carburetor is off. You got to undo the linkage here. Careful, don't bend things. Pay attention to how it went. All right, let's take the carburetor apart to get the bowl, right? 10 millimeter. Take that right off. I mean, there's some nastiness in there. We'll clean that up. Right, pop the pin. Yeah, I'm gonna have to use the needle nose to get those out. I'm taking this jet out. Normally carburetors, once you break things loose, they come right apart. This is not. So, right, you should be able to see right through that, and yeah, it's partially blocked, not completely. Try not to lose it. You'll be messed up there. There's another jet in here. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be moving, so I'm just gonna have to spray solvent through it. Hopefully it'll clear up. I am gonna pop that pin out, make sure the needle valve doesn't have a fur ball in there. Carburetor doesn't look too bad. I'm just gonna spray it and jet some air through everything, and hopefully it's all good. So I pulled this jet. This is kind of, I'm going to call it an external jet. It's on the side of the carburetor. Made sure it's all cleared up. There was a little stuff in there, but we got it clean. Pay attention how this spring goes on this bar. This goes between the throttle and the governor. And you want to keep that spring there. It's easy to say, oh, the heck with it. But that helps stabilize the throttle, right? It helps keep it from wandering quite as much. With the gas can lying on top of the motor, this is obviously a little sketchy, but let's hope for the best. So choke on, power on, pull the string, choke off, pull the string. Alright, so you could see a little smoke come out of there. I don't know if you guys could see this gauge to see if there's anything coming on it. Here, let me zoom it in on that. See if we get anything. Well, it's behaving like it's rich. I'm going to take off the air cleaner and see if that helps. It seems to fire a few times and then die right out. I checked the plug. It doesn't appear to be flooding. If I had to guess, it seems to have back pressure. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take off the muffler and see if that's the problem. A lot of times they have a tendency to clog up. I also don't think I'm getting the RPMs up high enough to get any power out of it. So next gig, muffler off. All right, the muffler's off. Let's see what this thing wants to do. By the way, should you do this at home, don't run it for more than a couple of beats without the muffler on it. It's really not good for them. Power on. You guys heard it. It starts and it runs, and we got voltage. So the muffler is obviously clogged up. Not quite sure how I'm going to unclog it. I think I'll put some gas into it and kind of swish it about, and hopefully it dissolves things. If you run them with too much oil in them, they will clog up. I think this thing probably also has quite a few miles on it for it to be clogged. If I can't get it clean that way, probably I'll drill some strategic holes into it so that I can get a tool and fill those holes with bolts later. So anyway, let's see if we can't get this muffler cleaned up. I put some gas into it and then jetted some air through it. This is what came out. Seems to be better, right? Seems to be less restrictive. So I'm going to call it good. We're going to bolt it up and see if it works. Obviously, gasoline and all this stuff, dangerous. Have a fire extinguisher handy. You don't want to be a solo member of a Burning Man's competition. Well, let's start this thing up, see if it'll fire up a light bulb. Power on. It's kind of warm, so I'm not going to choke it. I am going to choke it. I'm going to let it run out of gas, but while it's doing that, let me tell you about a few things that are kind of important. First of all, see this bolt right here? This is how you adjust the governor. So that's one thing you need to know. Something else you need to know. These things come with the worst spark plugs in the world. So do yourself a favor, cross-reference it, and put a good spark plug into it, perhaps an NDK. By the way, this is just running on what's in the carburetor, so it should run out shortly. Lastly, notice I turned off the light bulb. It is better to run these things out of fuel without a load on it. When you put a load on them, when you shut them down, especially on the better generators, you can actually start messing with the circuitry on them. So basically, for $5, right, that's all I have invested. Other than a spark plug and some cleaning fluid, that's all I have invested in this thing. And I have a running generator that now generates power. I've watched videos on these things where to make them a little more reliable, easier to start and so forth, they take the choke plate and they cut them out of a piece of solid metal so there's no holes in them, so that when you pull the string you get a better choke. That makes these things start better. A better spark plug makes them start better. Cleaning out the exhaust once in a while makes them run better and start better. Other than that, keep them clean, right? No leaves, no mice, no debris. That makes it better. Clean gas, good. I'm using the premix. It came in a can. I got a bunch of cans of it at the flea market for like $3 each, so that's what I'm using. Use good oil and all the other stuff. They're just a nice, reliable little generator. But the power, even on this thing, I was getting 66 hertz out of it. Normally, when I plug this into the wall in my house, I get 59.9. It's supposed to be 60 hertz. Probably not the most perfect meter, but 66 is 10% off. So good for drills and other stuff. I'd be a little careful with the fancy electronics, right? You really don't want to use that. If you go through YouTube, you'll find there was a person who had one of these, had a small air conditioner, the 5,000 watt with the twist by metallic knob, not electronics for controlling the temperature, and they just set it to low, maximum cold. Didn't let the compressor cycle. When the compressor cycles, it uses a lot of power. You're starting it up against back pressure, so don't do that. But they used it in a single wide, and they managed to keep themselves pretty cool. These things are really pretty good on fuel. They use less than a quart per hour. So, you know, a couple of gallons of gasoline, especially during the hottest time of the day, you know, or 3 gallons of gasoline could get you through 12 hours of, you know, kind of multiplexing between various things, keeping yourself cool. Once again, be careful with the electronics. I just have to put the top on this thing, hook up the gas line. Things are clean. It's run out of fuel at this point. So this thing is ready to be put away and stored until I actually need it for something real. I think what I'd like to do is actually take it and kind of keep it with that thing so I have a portable power source whenever I want to, you know, kind of use a grinder on the road or a drill, or I want to use an electric chainsaw, right? It is capable of that. And it's a little smaller than that guy. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You got to do some thinking when you work on these things, right? So not only did it have water in the gas and the carburetor needed to be cleaned, the exhaust needed to be cleaned too. But once I did those things, she fired right up and she's ready to go. All right, folks, take care. Thanks for watching and commenting and subscribing. Please remember, feet down, heads up, and get out and enjoy each and every day. Bye now.